If we took a look at some of our favorite films and you pay close attention to the flow of a scene, how the camera moves, the actors, or even the world around them, this motion of the camera and everything in that frame is carefully thought out and choreographed, and this could be one of the most important aspects of filmmaking. You see, the subtle art of coordinating the actors, where they're placed, the lighting, and everything that you see in a scene, this is something called film blocking. And today we're going to talk about why it's such an important storytelling tool, how to implement this into your filmmaking, and most importantly, how to plan this process in your pre-production phase and get the absolute most out of your shooting days. Okay, so when you guys are film blocking, there are a few things to consider: story, lighting, spacing, and practicality. Blocking could be a great way to direct the audience's attention and inform them how they should feel. It could also contribute to the overall narrative and flow of the film. Now, typically when we're watching a film, we're getting most of our information by two people having a conversation. And the basic way to do this is film a conversation by using the triangle method, where you have a wide shot establishing both characters having this conversation, and then you have two over-the-shoulder shots, or commonly referred to as OTS shots. This is where you establish that triangle of coverage. Now, while the triangle method is very effective, it's also a very basic and some would say even boring way to relay information to the audience. But if we take a look at this scene from 1917, this long take is like a masterclass in film blocking. The scene starts off with our two main characters walking through the trenches, but suddenly one of our main characters drops off. Now, as we follow our first character through the trench, we then are introduced to this man digging, who gives us our first bit of information. Now, as the audience, you start to get an understanding of what the situation our characters are going into. Boom, and just like that, now we're starting to follow our second character through the trench, showing now his point of view from what's happening. And as we follow both of our main characters, now we're introduced to another man who gives us another bit of information. Then they raise the camera up and put it in front of both of our characters' face, showcasing their expression and how they're feeling about the information that they're receiving. And finally, they find the man that they're looking for. Now, in this scene, there's a lot being said just by the blocking and the body language of our characters. The lieutenant that they found and the man that they're supposed to be looking for orders is found lying down, giving you this sense of defeat, while both of our main characters are standing ready, awaiting orders. Now, as he sets up, both of our main characters are framing him, making the audience pay close attention to what he's trying to say. Then, as he takes a look at the orders, he begins to stand up, and now the camera follows him, letting you know that now he is in control of the conversation. This was an extremely creative way to showcase many different conversations and the gathering of information as our characters are moving through this trench. They've managed to give you this feeling of defeat from all the men in the trench, as well as this horrific tragedy of their friends and brothers in arms dying, making you feel this overwhelming sense of weight and impending doom that our main characters are about to go on a journey for. And I really urge you guys to go back and watch this scene and notice that all of this is happening in one take. And the reason why I called this a masterclass in film blocking is because all of these movements with the characters, the set, the lighting, the camera, all of this stuff is very carefully choreographed. And it's an incredibly creative way to give the audience all this information that they need while putting you right in the middle of the war with our two main characters, and you're kind of seeing it through their point of view as they go through the trench and they gather this information. And in my opinion, it was a genius idea for the direction of this scene and in this film, because you very easily could have just thrown these characters together and relayed all of this information in that simple triangle method that we originally talked about, where you have a wide shot and two over the shoulders. However, they've decided to do all of this in one take, and what this does to the audience is that it really puts you right in that moment. Now, one thing that I always say on this channel is that story is king, especially when you're thinking about a way to block and frame your subjects. However, there's also a very important factor when you think about blocking for your film, especially for all my cinematographers out there, and what I'm talking about is lighting. The use of lighting of a film is just as important as the dialogue. The lighting helps you tell the visual story of what's happening in a scene. And when filmmakers are thinking about blocking, they're not just thinking about the choreography between characters, but they're also thinking about where the lighting is placed in a scene. Taking a look at this scene from Skyfall, it opens up with a mysterious character out of focus at the end of a hall. Now obviously we have leading lines from the hallway leading you right to him, and at this moment he's backlit, mainly shown as a silhouette. Now as he moves towards the camera, he eventually comes to a point in the frame where he's revealed, showing just a bit of light on his face. And this really was an incredible way to use lighting and blocking to reveal our main character. Now, blocking light for this scene was a lot easier than choreographing different movements between characters to properly light them throughout a scene. And that's why a lot of cinematographers, especially when dealing with wide shots and choreography between characters, will light a space rather than the face. And what this means is that your focus is lighting and creating different pools of light in a space, so that way the actors can freely move in a scene and still be properly lit. So when you guys are thinking about lighting a scene, you got to think about what the characters are actually doing. If it's a simple over-the-shoulder shot, you could really focus on lighting the face and dial in the lighting to get exactly the kind of look that you're going for. However, if there are a lot of different choreographed movements between characters and they have to be moving around a lot in a scene, then you're probably better off just thinking about how to light this entire space and how the characters can freely move and still be properly lit. A very important aspect to blocking a scene is to think about the spacing between the camera, the frame, and the characters. If we take a look at the Guardians of the Galaxy, our main characters are having a conversation in the foreground of the frame. Now, as they're having this conversation, you can see in the background Groot grabbing this object that they're actually talking about, specifically waiting until the end to grab. Now, this was such a great way to direct the scene, and it works because they specifically placed the shortest character in the middle of the frame, not blocking any part of the background. Then you have our three main characters forming this sort of triangular shape, leading us right to the main point of interest, which is Groot grabbing the object in the background. Another great use of spacing is this scene from the Joker. The scene opens up with Arthur isolated on a subway, while the camera slowly reveals three men at the end of the train, along with a woman sitting on the other side of the train looking pretty uncomfortable. Then they cut to this shot of the three men antagonizing the woman. As the man walks over to Arthur, he is standing up, and it's shot from a lower angle, giving this character power and authority over the situation. And this particular blocking is a great way to not only showcasing the spacing, but also showcasing the power dynamics between the characters. And what I love about this scene is how quickly the power dynamics change. While they're over the top of Arthur, kicking him and beating him up, while he's laying lifelessly on the floor, all of a sudden they cut to this shot of two of the three men getting shot, and then the scene ends with Arthur standing over the third man while he's laying on the floor, showing you this shift of the power dynamic. Now, for those of you guys who have been following me for the last few months, you know that me and my team have been in production for this short film. A very ambitious short film that I must add. And I learned a lot about film blocking and all the effects that it has, not only on the story and the scene, but most importantly, how much time it takes to properly block a film. And if you are not prepared in pre-production, the negative implications and the effects that could have during the making of your film. So just a real quick recap. When you guys are thinking about a scene, and in particularly about blocking a scene, it's important to think about all the different storytelling elements. How can you creatively move throughout a scene and give the audience as much information in a creative way like they did in 1917? Where can you place your lighting to effectively reveal characters like in Skyfall? And how can you use it to showcase power dynamics and spacing between characters like they did in the Joker? And finally, really think about blocking of your shot and what it's going to take and how to move the different elements that you need to actually shoot a scene. And if you guys want to learn more about filmmaking, my team and I are putting together a course where we're really working on giving you guys as much value as we possibly could in this course. I'm going to leave a link down below, so if you guys want to sign up for that, you'll be first to be notified as soon as the course drops. I want to thank you guys so much for stopping in and hanging out. My name is Zarfati, and I'll see you guys next week. Deuces.